Let me start by saying that I was not forced into smoking weed. Nobody forced me to do anything. I got curious about smoking weed because I was constantly excluded by my non-smoker friends. No matter what I did, I always seemed to be excluded or the least favorite friend in the group. And then one day, I was invited by some of my stoner friends to join them on an after-school smoke sesh before homecoming so we could all go to the homecoming game high as fuck. That was my first time ever getting high on any drug. At first, I didn't really feel anything until I crossed the street to get back to the school. Suddenly, it hit me like a truck, and it felt like the road was taking forever to get to the other side so I could get to the school. It was almost like time had stopped in a way, and then suddenly began continuing. After that day, I continued to smoke at every opportunity. I finally felt part of a group in which I felt totally accepted. My new stoner friends and I finally all had something in common and we could all talk about while in school, and occasionally dip school and smoke weed. I finally found myself a dealer who hooked me up with 3 grams, and I invited a couple friends over, 2 girls from my history class, for a smoke sesh. I packed my new bong and we began smoking. I had never smoked this much weed to the face before, because before I had always smoked in big groups, so this was a lot of weed for a newbie like me. After we finished smoking, I believe I had entered cannabis psychosis as I began to trip very hard. I began to hear music that wasn't playing, and the snowy ground turned into a dirt road surrounded by woods, and my 2-step porch turned into a giant winding staircase. The 2 girls I was with began talking about our history teacher, so I believed that we were going to our history teacher's house for some reason. Quite often when I would smoke, I would fall into a nice, weed-induced sleep. On the downside, occasionally when I would wake up, I would realize that my weed was missing, and so was my lighter and everything, stolen by other people that were in the group. Eventually, when I began to handle my weed better and began smoking every day, sometimes even showing up to work high. Now, smoking weed did not make me dumb the way the media said it would, and I was pleased to see that the media was wrong about weed. Instead, it made me more perceptive and aware of how I was feeling in my subconscious, unlike when I was sober. Now, since the media was wrong about weed, I began to get curious about other drugs too when my dealer said that he had them, such as acid and coke, which I eventually tried and thoroughly enjoyed. I continued to smoke weed throughout my whole addiction to drugs, usually at the end of the day during come-downs from the other drugs, as weed helped mellow me out during come-downs from coke or at the end of an acid trip. I enjoyed mixing weed with the other drugs, as weed I found intensified other drugs, so I didn't need to take as much, or sometimes during come-downs it would wake me back up to the peak. However, the most destructive thing about weed was the price of it, as it would continue to eat away at my money, even more than alcohol or cigarettes or heroin or crack did. So eventually I had to cut my use down. I still currently smoke medical marijuana, as advised to by my doctor to help me combat withdrawals from other drugs, along with my Suboxone and my prescription Klonopin. I like to take a couple edibles along with my Klonopin, along with a marijuana drink, to get a nice calming buzz going throughout the afternoon and evening. So guys, if you made it this far, I'm happy, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, stay safe guys. And if you're struggling with an addiction to any drug, you are not alone. I'm here if anyone needs to talk about their addiction. I don't judge, and I don't get triggered easily. So, I always leave my Snapchat and my YouTube bio, so feel free to add me or comment below and we can have a chat. I really hope that these videos can either deter or help people struggling with drugs, and I hope to help someone one day. So I will see you guys in the next video.